I feel like we've all met someone who just uh talks a big game.
Oh, absolutely. Tons of people like that.
Right. Like it's one thing to stand up on a stage or, well, in the case of what we're looking at today, a mountain and deliver this brilliant worldview shifting speech. I mean, words are powerful.
They are, yeah.
But ultimately, they're just words until you actually back them up. Like anyone can say they have all the answers, but it's completely another thing to, walk down from that mountain and actually prove that you have the authority to change reality.
Which, I mean, that is the ultimate test for any historical figure who claims some sort of divine mandate.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at these ancient texts, that tension between what is spoken and what is actually done, that's like the primary metric for legitimacy.
Right, right.
You can't just proclaim a new kingdom out of thin air. You have to physically inaugurate it.
Exactly. And you sent us this like massive stack of notes on Mark Bates's commentary on Matthew chapter 8. And as we were going through your source material, that exact tension just kind of jumped right off the page. So, okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to explore exactly how Jesus explicitly demonstrates his divine authority for you, the listener.
Yeah, it's a huge shift.
And he doesn't do it through like more philosophical teaching, right? He does it through this highly structured, relentless series of miracles that systematically prove who he is to a really skeptical world.
Yeah, and to really grasp the mechanical weight of this, we have to look at the immediate transition happening in the text right there. So Jesus has just finished delivering the Sermon on the Mount.
Right, the big speech.
Exactly. That was his authoritative proclamation laying out the ethics of this new kingdom.
Hmm.
But within the ancient Hebrew mindset, words and deeds form an indivisible unity.
Oh, I see. So they can't be separated.
Right. The philosophical declaration of God's kingdom is just, well, it's entirely hollow without the redemptive historical actions that prove it.
Yeah.
So as Jesus physically descends this mountain, the narrative shifts gears entirely. It goes straight from authoritative words to authoritative deeds.
Bates points out this really incredible historical parallel here, too. When Jesus comes down the mountain, Matthew is deliberately echoing the story of Moses coming down Mount Sinai. But it's kind of a subversion of that story.
Oh, it's a brilliant subversion. I mean, think back to the Sinai narrative.
Okay.
When Moses came down after receiving the law, his face was glowing with the reflection of God's glory. And the Israelites were absolutely terrified.
They couldn't even look at him, right?
Right. Moses actually had to put a physical veil over his face to shield them from that overwhelming secondhand divine glory. The distance between the divine and the human just had to be maintained for their safety.
Wow. But Jesus does, like, the exact opposite here. He doesn't veil anything.
Not at all.
He walks completely openly among the crowds. So instead of hiding the divine glory, he actively displays it by stepping directly into the dirt and the dust of human brokenness. He's not just a prophet like Moses reflecting glory. He's the source of it, walking right into the valley.
Yeah, he possesses a greater unveiled authority. He doesn't just bring the law. He brings the actual restorative power of the kingdom right into everyday life.
And he really doesn't waste a single second getting into that dirt. Like
Right.
the transition from the mountain peak to the absolute lowest rung of society is immediate.
So fast.
The very first encounter Jesus has is with a leper. And, we all know leprosy carried a severe stigma, but your notes emphasize the actual ritual mechanics of this. Under Mosaic Law, this was a state of severe ritual impurity. Touching a leper meant you absorbed that impurity yourself.
Yeah, you were legally and socially severed from the community. You were cut off from the temple and from the presence of God. I mean, the purity laws in Leviticus were incredibly strict about transmission.
Wow.
Impurity was highly transmissible. And this man approaches Jesus, falls down, and says, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean."
Make me clean.
Notice he doesn't say make me well.
Oh, right.
He says make me clean. He is asking for a restoration of his ritual status just as much as his physical health.
No, I was thinking about how this normally works. Like, usually sickness or dirt is contagious. If you touch a muddy puddle, your hand gets dirty, right? The puddle doesn't get clean.
Right.
Contamination spreads, purity doesn't. But Jesus reaches out and physically touches this man. So break down the mechanics of what Bates argues is actually happening here.
So what's fascinating here is the concept of reverse contagion.
Reverse contagion.
Yeah, when Jesus touches the leper, the normal vector of transmission is completely inverted. Jesus doesn't contract the man's ritual impurity. Instead, his holy touch imparts immediate cleansing.
That is so wild.
It is. His divine purity is so absolute, so fundamentally unassailable, that it just overpowers and abolishes human contamination. The disease and the impurity simply cannot exist in contact with his authority.
It's like throwing a bucket of pure light into a dark room. The dark doesn't infect the light. The light just obliterates the dark.
That's a great way to put it.
But then Jesus does something that feels almost contradictory. After he cleanses the man and shatters this social boundary, he commands him to go straight to the priest and offer the specific sacrifice Moses commanded in Leviticus. Why would he submit to the priestly system he just completely circumvented?
Well, because he isn't circumventing the law. He's fulfilling it. Leviticus 14 has this elaborate multi-day ritual involving 2 birds, running water, and cedar wood.
Wait, really? 2 birds?
Yeah, it's a whole process just to verify someone is clean. By sending the man to the priest, Jesus is providing undeniable legal testimony to the temple leadership in Jerusalem.
Oh, wow.
The priests had to follow their own law and officially declare the man clean. Jesus is effectively forcing the religious establishment to put their stamp of approval on his miracle.
Wow.
It's a legal notice. The messianic age of cleansing has arrived. You have to put in your own record books.
That is a massive legal flex. I love that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't stop with ritual impurity either. The text moves straight to Peter's house, where Jesus heals Peter's mother-in-law from a severe fever just by touching her hand.
Right.
And then that evening, the whole community brings him their sick and demon-possessed, and he heals them all. He's systematically targeting the marginalized.
He really is aggressively reversing human marginalization. And Matthew explicitly grounds all of this in the Hebrew Scriptures. He specifically cites Isaiah 53, verse 4, stating Jesus took our infirmities and carried away our diseases.
Okay.
The theological claim here is that these physical healings are not just, random acts of compassion. They are historical down payments on the total redemptive removal of sin. The healing of the physical body points to the ultimate healing of the human condition.
So we have absolute authority over physical disease and ritual impurity through touch, but the text immediately pushes the boundaries even further. Because what happens when the afflicted person isn't even in the room? And more importantly, what if they belong to an occupying enemy military force?
Yeah, this is the encounter with the Roman centurion in Capernaum.
Right. The centurion comes to Jesus asking him to heal his paralyzed servant who is miles away. He completely bypasses all Jewish religious rituals and frames Jesus' power entirely through a military chain of command.
Exactly.
He says, I'm a man under authority with soldiers under me. I say go, and he goes, you don't even need to come to my house. Just say the word. And here is my major pushback on this entire scene.
Okay, let's hear it.
Why is Jesus, the Jewish Messiah, who is supposed to liberate his people, publicly praising an officer of the oppressive Roman Empire? Doesn't elevating a Gentile oppressor completely contradict the messianic mission?
Well, it only contradicts the political expectation of the messianic mission, not the theological one.
Oh, interesting.
You really have to understand the Roman military structure the centurion represents. He commands the century, right? A core unit of the Roman legion.
Right.
He operates on the principle of Imperium, which is absolute delegated authority. An order from a superior isn't a request. It's a reality that simply hasn't materialized yet.
Wow.
The centurion looks at Jesus and recognizes that exact same structural reality, but on a cosmic scale.
So he sees that Jesus doesn't need to perform some magic ritual or physically manipulate the environment. He just needs to issue a command.
Precisely. And Jesus praises him because this Gentile military officer understands the fundamental nature of Jesus' sovereign authority far better than the religious insiders who have, memorized the Torah. The religious elite are looking for a political warlord. The centurion recognizes the cosmic lord.
The authority to dictate reality from miles away with a single syllable, that's intense. And Jesus leverages this exact moment to drop a massive theological shockwave on the crowd.
Oh, big time.
He uses the centurion's faith to envision the Eschatological Banquet, the great end times feast of the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, he declares that Gentiles from the east and the west are going to come and sit at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this isn't a new idea, by the way.
Right, it goes way back.
It fulfills the original covenant God made with Abraham in Genesis 12. That promise that through Abraham all the nations of the earth would be blessed. Gentile inclusion was always the intended goal of the covenant.
But he couples this promise with a devastating warning to the what he calls the sons of the kingdom, referring to national Israel. He says that insiders are going to be cast out into outer darkness. I mean, He's dismantling their entire worldview,
Completely.
relying on ethnic lineage or having the right theological pedigree or assuming your societal status guarantees you a seat at the table. It means absolutely nothing.
The kingdom of God requires personal, active faith in the authority of the king. The outsider who recognizes and submits to that authority is welcome to the table, while the insider who relies on their historical pedigree but lacks actual faith, well, they're excluded. It's a complete inversion of who is considered in and who is out.
So we've seen him conquer impurity, physical distance, and deep-seated ethnic boundaries. But the narrative doesn't stop there. It escalates the scope of his authority to the physical earth itself. Jesus and his disciples get into a boat to cross the Sea of Galilee.
And a severe swamping storm hits. The Greek word used here for storm is seismos, which literally means an earthquake.
Wait, an earthquake on the water?
Yes, it's a violent, chaotic upheaval of the sea. These disciples are experienced fishermen who know this water, and they are terrified they're going to drown. Meanwhile, Jesus is fast asleep in the stern.
They wake him up in a total panic. Jesus stands up, rebukes the wind and the waves, and there is instant, dead calm. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Why is controlling the weather such a crucial piece of this puzzle? He's already proven he can heal bodies and command diseases from afar. Why does Matthew need to include this specific nautical event?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of ancient Near Eastern cosmology, this is the most profound claim of authority yet. We have to look at what's called the Yahweh Typology. To an ancient Israelite, the sea wasn't just a body of water. It represented primordial chaos. It was the untamable, destructive abyss. You see this all the way back in Genesis 1, with the Spirit of God hovering over the chaotic deep.
Right. The sea is the ultimate symbol of forces hostile to human life. It's the monster that cannot be tamed.
Exactly. And in the Hebrew Scriptures, specifically in texts like Psalm 89 and Psalm 107, exercising absolute authority over the chaotic forces of the sea is an action reserved exclusively for Yahweh. God alone can still the raging waters. God alone can put a leash on the abyss.
So when Jesus stands up in that swamping boat and tells the storm to shut up, and the universe instantly obeys him, the disciples aren't just relieved, they're terrified in a whole new way. They ask, what kind of man is this?
Because he isn't acting as a prophet asking God to calm the storm. He isn't performing a magic spell. He is speaking directly to the chaos, acting as the sovereign Lord of creation. He's doing what only Yahweh does. He's revealing his divine identity through the subjugation of the natural world.
It seriously gives you chills when you think about the scale of this progression. He has systematically conquered impurity, sickness, social divides, and the chaotic forces of nature. That leaves one final frontier of authority in this sequence, which is the supernatural realm.
Yep.
And frankly, how humanity reacts to that level of power. Which brings us to the Gadarene demoniacs.
Right, so Jesus and the disciples cross the sea and arrive in Gentile territory, specifically the region of the Gadarenes. And they are immediately confronted by two incredibly fierce, demon-possessed men living among the tombs.
And what stands out immediately is the contrast in recognition. I mean, the disciples in the boat were just asking, what kind of man is this? The religious leaders are confused. But the demons,
They know exactly who he is.
they instantly recognize him as the Son of God. They ask him, have you come here to torment us before the time? They acknowledge his ultimate judicial authority over them right out of the gate.
They know the eschatological timeline, and they know they are already defeated. The demonic spirits beg to be sent into a nearby herd of pigs. Now, we have to look at the mechanics of this. Why pigs, and why do they rush into the sea?
Right, Jesus just says a single word, go, and the entire herd rushes down a steep bank and drowns in the sea. So break down the symbolism there.
It ties perfectly into the previous scene. In Jewish law, pigs are the ultimate unclean animal, and the sea, as we just discussed, represents the abyss of chaos.
Okay.
By sending the demons into the unclean pigs and having those pigs hurl themselves into the chaotic sea, Jesus is actively sending the agents of chaos back into the abyss where they belong. It is a visual, undeniable picture of absolute cosmic defeat. He is cleaning house.
But this is where I have to challenge the narrative, because there is a glaring contradiction in how this story ends.
Let's hear it.
Jesus has just liberated two tormented men who were terrorizing this entire region. He has actively defeated dark, cosmic powers. He has essentially made the neighborhood safe again. But the local townspeople come out, and instead of throwing a parade or thanking him, they literally beg Jesus to leave their region.
Yeah.
If he just proved he can control the chaos that was ruining their lives, why on earth are they rejecting him?
This raises an important question about human nature, and it exposes the profound division the kingdom of God causes when it actually arrives. You have to look at the economic reality of what just happened. That herd of swine was massive. I mean, Mark's gospel tells us it was about 2,000 pigs.
Oh, wow.
The townspeople are staring at catastrophic economic loss.
So their bottom line took a massive hit.
Yes, but it's deeper than just money. They are overwhelmed by the sheer unmanageable terror of a power they cannot control. A man who can command demons and destroy an entire industry with one word is far more terrifying to them than the demons they had already learned to avoid.
Wow, so it's better the devil you know.
Yep.
Exactly. Worldly systems often reject the Messiah to preserve their temporal security and their status quo. They knew how to live with the demons in the tombs. They don't know how to live with the sovereign Lord of creation standing in their fields.
They prefer manageable chaos over disruptive divine authority, which ties perfectly into an interlude Bates highlights earlier in the chapter about the actual cost of following this authority. Before they even got in the boat, Jesus used the title Son of Man from Daniel 7.
Yeah, the Son of Man in Daniel 7 is a figure of ultimate heavenly dominion. He's given authority over all nations by the Ancient of Days. It is the highest possible claim to cosmic authority.
But in the exact same breath, Jesus warns a prospective follower that the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head.
Right. He claims the highest possible heavenly authority while emphasizing his present earthly vulnerability. He is a homeless king. And following this king demands absolute allegiance. Right after that, another man asks if he can go bury his father first, which in ancient Near Eastern culture was one of the highest, most secret filial duties you could perform.
And Jesus replies, "Follow me and allow the dead to bury their own dead."
So the kingdom supersedes everything, even the most fundamental, sacred earthly obligations.
Yeah.
His earthly mission isn't about setting up a comfortable political regime or, respecting societal norms. It's marked by worldly rejection and intense vulnerability, exactly like we see later with the Gadarene townspeople.
True discipleship means submitting to an authority that will inevitably disrupt your life, your obligations, and your security.
So what does this all mean? When we look at all these pieces together, it's clear that Matthew chapter 8 isn't just a random collection of magic tricks recorded to impress a reader. It is a tightly woven, brilliant theological argument. It's documenting an active historical invasion of divine power. I mean, Jesus systematically overthrows the reign of impurity with the leper. He overthrows sickness and ethnic boundaries with the Centurion. He overthrows natural chaos on the sea. And he overthrows demonic tyranny in the tombs.
It is a comprehensive, airtight demonstration of sovereignty. He is the Davidic king. He is the suffering servant of Isaiah, and he is the divine Lord of creation, actively delivering the world from the power of the curse. Every claim he made on the mountain is validated by his actions in the valley.
He backs up the talk with the walk, which brings us to a final thought to leave you with as you process these notes today.
And this is where the text turns the camera around on us, We've spent a lot of time analyzing the religious insiders who lacked faith and the Gadarene townspeople who rejected Jesus because he threatened their economy.
Right.
But consider the modern application of the sons of the kingdom. Today, we have massive religious institutions, sprawling theological frameworks, and individuals who pride themselves on having the right beliefs, the right pedigree. But if the Centurion shows us that true faith is an absolute submission to the disruptive command of the king, are our modern structures acting just like those ancient insiders?
Oh, that's heavy.
Do we assume we have a guaranteed seat at the eschatological banquet simply because we know the theology, while functionally rejecting the king the moment his authority actually threatens to disrupt our comfort, our politics, or our institutional bottom line? It forces you to ask, are we following the Lord of creation, or are we just defending our own carefully managed kingdoms?
A heavy but necessary disruption to our own status quo. Well, thank you for diving into these sources with us. We hope this exploration unpacked the deep mechanics of these texts and brought you a few of those great aha moments. Keep asking those tough questions, keep digging into the historical context, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.